Nietzsche, the most prolific philosopher of our age, he wished suffering on his higher men. Now, this sounds monstrous, even cruel. Many Christians thought he was evil, and it's easy to misunderstand him when he wrote things like, quote, "To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill treatment, indignities. I wish them the only thing that can prove today whether one is worth anything or not, that one endures." Is this evil? I don't think so. Nietzsche wasn't sadistic. He was a visionary, and he understood the formula for greatness. It begins with a heroic stance towards suffering, and this is the philosophy of transcendence, which I talk a lot about on this channel. So let's break it down. Welcome back to Wisdom Warriors. My name is Christian. Most people, myself included, go through life avoiding pain and seeking happiness. We condemn our inner conflicts and shadows as bad things, as undesirable things. But Nietzsche saw them as the best parts of you. When I was 19, I had an existential crisis and ended up dropping out of an Ivy League school, basically to be homeless. I was living out of tents, out of my car, couch surfing, and for many years there, I was just wrestling with addictions, chronic insomnia, losses, loneliness, like just being dragged across rock bottom. And so often during that journey, I hated suffering. Like I hated that I couldn't control myself. I hated the unfairness of life and the unfairness of heartbreaks. And so often I sat there and I prayed that life would just get better, that these parts of me would just go away, and that life would be pleasant again. But as Nietzsche said, be careful, lest in casting out your demon, you exorcise the best thing in you. As I've integrated these shadows ever so slowly, I've come to realize that I love them. My addictive personality, the restlessness that pushes me upward, the constant pains and letdowns of life. These conflicts aren't something wrong to be fixed. They are parts of me to be embraced. And in fact, the tension in my soul is something beautiful. This quote from Ian McGillichrist I used in my book, and I think it sums it up perfectly. Quote, "It is the tension between the warring ends of the bow that give the arrow the power to fly, as it is the tension in the strings of the lyre that gives rise to melody." This is what he meant by saying war is the father of all things. What looks like a waste of effort, pulling in opposite directions, is the essence of generative vitality. Multiple times in the past couple of years, I've had periods of almost perfect well-being, where it feels like the storm clears, and I have a girlfriend and friends and purpose, and everything's going right in my life. And I'm really thankful for those times, because they show me that even that isn't quite it. Even if we found this perfect heaven, which so many people are shooting for, of like perfect and permanent ease, for me, even that gets boring. And I've come to realize that, yes, ease and well-being, they're important, especially to punctuate victories. But I would choose a life of great and meaningful struggles over a life that is lukewarm any day. But to go so far as to choose suffering, to see suffering as a good thing, that's craziness, unless you're Jocko Willink or Goggins or someone. And I think this is a nuanced discussion, but ultimately the lower part of man is very concerned with avoiding pain and pursuing pleasure. But the superior part of all of us doesn't care so much for those things. The superior voice is strong. It is unbothered. It is joyful, and is seeking to make life into a piece of living art. Most people have little connection to the superior voice. They're so consumed with earthly concerns. But higher men hear the voice more clearly. And Nietzsche's whole Zarathustra project seems to be separating the cheerful voice of freedom from all the weaker ones that confuse you. When I read Thus Spoke Zarathustra, I got goosebumps, because for the first time, I saw the fearless voice of my spirit reflected clearly on the page, reminding me that struggle is not bad, the struggle is divine, and that the superior part of me is not burdened by it. He is not grave or fearful whatsoever. The superior part of you and I is akin to a laughing sage, and he is absolutely heroic. If you're interested in applying Nietzschean philosophy, as well as building business and sovereignty, I invite you to the Men's Academy and maybe even to my inner circle. There's a link below to talk to me about it one-on-one. I'm looking to gather together like-minded brothers and let's build something awesome. You can only do so much alone, so come hit me up and let's get back to the video. The philosophy of transcendence underlies most religions and all philosophies worth a damn. Heroic struggle and overcoming is the foundation of all of our myths, from Heracles' 12 great labors to Arjuna on the battlefield to Christ overcoming the devil in the desert. All of these are preparing us for our earthly and spiritual quest. And in that quest, struggle is the law. How you relate to it determines your potential and your destiny. If you run from struggle or cower beneath it, struggle will twist you, make you weaker and uglier. But if you face your fortunes with courage and laughter, struggle makes you more beautiful than ever before. And even if suffering wrecks your body, faced well, it refines your character and spirit into gold. Seen from a higher level, simple animalistic well-being or human contentment, it holds little value. I mean, it's nice, but alone, it doesn't create upward growth. Really ask yourself, do you think the superior part of you wants ease or a grand saga? If you said ease, this channel is not for you. To avoid struggle, to fix suffering, to make life easier is the quest of 95% of people, the herd. Through pills, entertainment, policies, religions, or ideology, they seek to negate struggle into their own utopia. These humans are what Nietzsche described as the last men, the men who seek comfort over purpose, who criticize greatness and entertain themselves to death. You can either run from struggle or learn to absolutely affirm it as a good thing. As Nietzsche said in The Will to Power, quote, "The higher man is distinguished from the lower by his fearlessness and his readiness to challenge misfortune." In my mind, no higher type is going to have perfect discipline or self-control or ambition or any of these things. They are distinguished by their willingness to strive forward and by their subtle smile when challenges come. The obstacles you face, the addictions and distractions you have, the grief you feel, the mistakes you made, it is all divine. And I just want to remind you of that. The suffering you and I feel is not a curse to be cured, but a blessing to be embraced. And if you don't feel that way, it's probably because you lack perspective or you are simply tired. I've been there, but it's no excuse. I think we often look at struggle or, let's say, problems in our relationship or our business or overwhelm or depression. We look at these things as negative experiences. But I like this word crucible. Crucible means a severe trial to make something new. And this is what suffering does for those who face it well. It lifts you upward. It refines your character. It creates more freedom and fire inside. And deep down, you love the contrast. Your spirit loves the fight. And it's asking you to stop taking life so damn seriously and being a weak bitch. Struggle may be the law of life, but heaviness is not. You get to choose your own energy, your own perspective, and how you face this shit. Now, this is all cool and inspiring in theory, but when your girlfriend walks out the door, or you're sitting there with that last pack of cigarettes and wanting to throw it in the trash, what do? Where do you source your transcendence from? This is why I propose and promote the spiritual path of transcendence, making heroic action, courage, and a prayer and meditation on transcendence as literally your religion. It's the thing that's going to support you most in life in times of trouble, and also encourage you to take those scary steps that lead to more beauty, power, and flourishing. I'm still working on embodying transcendence and embodying the spirit myself, and I have documented my journey in my book, The Psychology of Slaying Dragons, and ultimately it's what I want to dedicate a lot of this channel to. A lot of people in the Nietzsche space are focused a lot on heroic action and working out and becoming virile and not being a pussy, and all of that is awesome. Love the motivational content out there for men. But almost all of it misses an important step in life, and that is the heroic and absolute surrender, the times of initiation. Sometimes life beats you to your knees and it doesn't relent. The weariness and pain overwhelm you. If you ever do find yourself in the cave of unrelenting struggle and exhaustion or depression, you know what I mean. It feels like the light has gone out of the world and dark, irrational emotions cloud everything. In these periods of initiation, it is not about fighting. That comes from a place of fear. The lesson is radical surrender, letting yourself unbecome or even die. This, in my experience, was the greatest act of courage in my life, wrestling through intense heartbreak and addictions and solitude while leaving my old life behind. Instead of striving forward, I was surrendering to unknown depths. And let me tell you, my heart was being blown open. But it is that experience that I avoided most adamantly for most of my life, the descent into the darkness. And most people avoid this too. Hence, a strong dose of loss or heartbreak or psychedelic experience or an existential crisis, it might feel horrific when you're in it, but it just might be the medicine you need. Oftentimes when life feels like it's falling apart, it's actually falling into place. You are going through a crucible to find a new formation. The more you choose to live unafraid and face adversity with contempt and good cheer, the more you may find that the struggle becomes joyful rather than miserable. The struggle becomes divine. I believe the whole purpose and spiritual quest of Earth is to connect with your essence, the superior part of your nature, and bring it forth like lightning from heaven. This is the traditionalist school of thought, or the philosophy of transcendence, which this whole playlist is about. Now, it's heavily influenced by Nietzsche, but it doesn't end with him, as I'm going to make future videos about. So subscribe for more and come join the Men's Academy and find your brothers. Link below. Peace.